This man doesn't need any introduction, especially when I'm interviewing him. Court McGee, of course, back on the program. Sean Strickland coming up. UFC Fight Night 120. This one is in November 11th in Norfolk, Virginia. Veterans Day. So it's a big one.
Yeah.
You do well with pressure. I mean, obviously, we've talked about your life story on here, and most diehard MMA fans have followed your life story. Forgive me if I don't get my number right. You're over 10 years, right, sober?
11 and a half last week.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a big step. It's a big deal, especially coming from where you came from.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're still in the speaking circuit. You're still motivating guys, doing all that. Do you have to shut that down during training camp, or do you still have a bit of a schedule?
I had a few that I couldn't cancel. Well, I didn't feel good. They were kind of like pro bono gigs, but if I can, about a month out, I shut it off completely. So, anywhere from 6 weeks to a month out, like I won't book any speaking engagements. I'll tell them, hey, it's got to come after the fight. So.
And there hasn't been any kind of issue with that then, right? Sometimes people can get angry because they're expecting you to be around and be available, and all of a sudden, for this next 12 weeks he's unavailable. Well, that doesn't fit for us. You don't get any of that backlash, do you?
No, I haven't had any of that. Everybody that I've ever worked with has been more than willing to, okay, that's no problem. So, sometimes it's just like the timing doesn't work out, and so we'll reschedule for the next year, which is fine.
Okay.
So, and I have a few that I've put together that I've done over the years that I do on a 2-year rotation, and they just know. I'm like, hey, listen, if it comes up, I got to be somewhere. That's my primary thing is the UFC. So that takes precedence over everything. So, and most people are understanding.
So talking about the UFC, your record has been a little up and down last little bit.
Yeah.
Robert Whittaker was basically the start of it. Split decision win. That was back in 2013. Then a loss, win, and you're coming off a loss to Ben Saunders right now.
Yeah.
What's changed for you? Obviously, fighting has always been secondary. Staying sober has always been first for you. And family first, obviously. Sober second, then fighting comes. It's always kind of been like a third tier for you, but you're still super dedicated to it. I don't want anybody at home to think like I'm accusing Court of not being dedicated to the game. He's very dedicated to the game, but it becomes a question of now you're looking at the record. You've got to change the stuff in your training camps. You've got to do something different to make sure that you start racking up wins, several wins in a row.
Yeah.
What have you done differently in this camp?
Well, I was kind of in a position where I had the majority of my training was done here in Utah, and I'm a pit guy, and I've always been with Hackelman, and I've had to travel out there. But the training partners had left, like Glover's not there anymore, Chuck's not training out there anymore, and then a few of the other training partners that I had out there weren't out there, so I didn't have partners. And at the time, I had a separation from the coach I was with here in Utah. And so as of, just before Ben Saunders, we changed it up. And, you can go back and, it was definitely a controversial decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, I felt like I had a pretty good performance. It was a little bit awkward just because we were such good friends. But besides that, like, we're able to turn it off. And we fought, but I did change it up. So I travel a lot more and I go to a few different gyms, to get the training partners I need to get pushed. So there was a few years there where I was felt like I was stuck with one coach here in Utah, and man, I got a lot of backlash if I traveled. But here's the thing, man, it's like, I got to get partners that push me. I got to get wrestlers that take me down. I got to get jiu-jitsu guys that submit me, and I got to get boxers and strikers that can outstrike me. And so and now for these last couple of months, the last 4 or 5 months before I did the therapy on my shoulder, like I've been able to travel for this last year and go where I need to get the training, to improve. And another thing that I've left out for quite a while because of the type of conditioning that John Hackelman, is persistent on, I went back to a little bit heavier. I went back to my deadlifts once a week. I've been steady on deadlifts, and like power movement and like a power lift and an auxiliary lift once
Okay.
a week. And then the other day of the week, when I do my strength training, explosive strength training, I've incorporated some heavy weights, some like heavy prowler pushes, heavy deep ball slams and throws, and then heavy tire flips, like 500 and 600 pound tire flips. So my weight's a little bit higher than normal,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm working with a nutritionist now to kind of bring it down, and it's where it needs to be. And I mean, I'll make the weight no matter what, but I feel a lot stronger. And you can go ask my partners, it's like the 2 D1 wrestlers that I had for wrestling day on Thursday, like both of them were fucking done, and I
Oh,
felt
wow.
great. So
Oh,
it's
good.
like,
Okay.
yeah. So, I mean, I feel stronger, and I don't know, I think I've kind of turned a corner. And not to mention, man, I had a hard time after that long layoff, really
Yeah.
deciding, like, hey, man, what am I going to do after? Because, man, it comes a point where I know I can compete with the best guys in the world, but I want to beat them. And
Yeah.
I've been such a fine line, these split decision here and a little decision there, a decision win or decision lose. It's really close. But like I need to be able to capitalize and finish these guys, and that's something you can't teach. You can't teach the kill.
Yeah.
You have it, and I know I have it, but you have to have it in that 15 minutes. And so that's not something that I'm going to learn from John Hackelman or Chuck, or learn from Glover, or learn from Howard Davis Jr. or Sammy Henson or any of the coaches that I've had over the years. That's something that you have inside, to whether or not you can switch it on. So, I'm looking to switch it on in this next fight.
Well, let's talk about Sean Strickland. Obviously, you're a tape watcher. Record speaking wise, 18-6 for you, 18-2 for him. You
Yeah.
guys are very close in records, and experience levels. You guys are pretty close as well. This is a very good, from a matchmaker standpoint. This is a very good matchup.
Yes.
As far as the fans are concerned, this is going to be a very good matchup. When you look at it on paper, what do you see when you look at Sean? When you're watching tape on him, what do you see as a competitor? How do you see him? Does he have that killer instinct you were just talking about that you're trying to get back?
He reminds me. I don't know, because it depends on the type of competition you have. And a lot of people are, it's like, okay, I was fighting Robert Whitaker, and at the time, it's like, after that fight was over, I told Hackelman in the corner, like, hey, and this is I'm not saying that nobody else was, world class or anything, but he's literally one of the best guys I've ever fought, if not the best guy. I mean, and I was on fire that night.
Yeah.
And I dropped him. And I mean, I hit him like 7 or 8 times after that. And I had the killer instinct, and I went after it, but sometimes you just can't finish them guys. It's the same thing with, this guy and that guy, but you kind of look at the 4-4 or 5-4 in the last 8 or 9. And it's kind of like, those guys are all top 4, top 3. One's world champion. The other one's like number 6, number 8. And so maybe at the time they weren't, but it's like you kind of, I've had a lot of good, tough matchups, and it's such a fine line. It's turning over that stone, and I've had conversations with it, and I see Strickland as he's well-rounded. He's good everywhere.
Okay.
He does brawl, and he kind of reminds me of like a fast like a quicker, more explosive Seth Baczynski.
Okay.
Except for he circled, like, I watched him circle a lot. Like he moved away a lot. He was backing up a lot in one of the fights, but he'll stand, in one of the ones I watched. But the guy was really aggressive. So I don't know. He's definitely a tough opponent, and he's well rounded. He's good everywhere. So I just look at him as like a more explosive version, similar to Seth Baczynski. And, I mean, he's tall, he's lanky, similar to Ben Saunders, but he's regular stance. He does throw, he throws a lot more punches than he does kicks, but he'll mix it up. He will shoot. It's just, I don't know. I've shot from the hip and not came out with a game plan, and I've had a stern game plan, and I've done it in between, and I don't see a best route. It's like I fought a wrestler here in Utah, the Dominic Steele, and he was like a D2 Ohio or Oklahoma national champion, which is phenomenal. But in a heavy, and my whole game plan was to hit and move and just just angles, just moving, kind of like what I did with Josh Neer, just boom, 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 move, boom, move, boom, move. And I dislocated my elbow in the second punch I threw in the fight, and I didn't know what happened, but my right elbow dislocated. And so it was really hard to straighten it. And I didn't know if I broke my hand or I didn't know what happened, but it hurt to punch and I couldn't straighten my arm out. So I ended up making it a damn wrestling match. And that was completely away from the game plan, and it's just, I guess I don't really know what the best route is. And I've tried a bunch of different routes. And so
real quick, Court, for the folks at home, he's talking about Dominic Steele. He had to make it a wrestling match. This guy's a Division II national champion, and he wins that fight. And he had a different game plan. So to get in the mind of the fighter, he's having a very difficult time trying to figure out what's the best way to approach these fights. Have a strict game plan, have no game plan, because my game plan sometimes doesn't work at all, and sometimes the game plan I have doesn't work at all. It just depends on what's going on and what's happening.
Well, you look at the fight last night, Covington and Maya.
Yeah.
And both, grappler, wrestler, and not just a jiu-jitsu guy, like one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world, and then just a high-level grappler and wrestler. And then it ends up being a striking match. And so it's like you never really know, and I don't know, there's not a right way to go about it, but I've trained and I know I'm prepared for anything to come, but just keeping pressure, cutting off the cage, not letting him circle out. Because I watched in a couple of fights where he circled really hard. And I mean, the guys just let him off. They just followed him. So, and I learned a valuable lesson when I fought Consta Philippou. When you let him off, he would touch me up, and then I would just let him off, and I would follow him. I wouldn't cut the cage off. When if I would have cut the cage off, I'd have put the pressure on a lot earlier and not lost the first 2 rounds and only been able to win the third round. I would maybe won the second round or maybe even won the first round too. So, it's like implicating things that I've learned over a decade career and just turning that switch on, that fucking kill switch, the night that the fight happens, So making sure I'm mentally prepared and focused. And this one's going to be, it's going to be a little bit different. I've had John in my corner for the last 16 or 17 fights, minus 1 or 2 in the house. And for the last 8 years that I've been here in the UFC, and he's going to be at black belt graduation in Hawaii. So I won't have John in my corner this time.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be a little bit different. So I won't have my normal coaches, but I have a teammate that's been there with me since I hired him out of college wrestling, Ramsey Nijum. So he's cornered me and I've cornered him, and you've had teammates help you.
Yeah.
So
it won't be that bad. And honestly, once you get in there, John Hackleman's it's a good voice to have and a good calming position to have in the locker room before the fight. But the reality of it is, you still have to go in there and get punched in the face. So you still have to figure out what you're going to do. You still have to put organized chaos together and try to figure out how to win this fight. You say you want to start getting finishes. How do you think you're going to finish, Sean? Will it be with striking or will it be with grappling?
No, it'd be on the ground. I mean, I could catch him. The thing is I've been striking so much and changed so much because I used to take people down, and I had this strength advantage. It's not a lot of people know, but I had over a 640 pound deadlift. Yeah. And that's a significant amount when you're under 200 pounds. And so naturally I'm really strong, and I'm explosive, but I don't fight like a strong, explosive fighter. because I've had the advantage of working with somebody like the Olympic 1976 Olympic gold medalist Howard Davis Jr. I had a tremendous amount of time to work with him, and I was fascinated, and I loved boxing, and so I learned these little tactics and techniques, and so I tried to incorporate those, and so over this couple of years of training, it's turned into like trying this and implicating it in fights. And so this last couple of months, I've really focused on getting back to pressuring, taking guys down, and putting them in a bad spot, but not jumping to the next move, because I have the gas tank and I can move, but taking somebody down and holding them down and not moving to the next thing, because sometimes I'll shoot, and you look at the fight counter, they're like, oh, he shot 9 times and got defended 8 times. And it's like, nah, man, I shot on the guy so he'd put his hands down. Next time I faked a shot so I could hit him in the face. Yeah. He didn't defend shit. I didn't try and take him down. I was trying to knock him out, And so it's like, you can't really look at that stuff, but committing to a shot, it's like I've only been stopped in any sport that I've been in my whole life one time, and that was by Ponzinibbio. And I mean, I never got pinned in my wrestling career. I never got submitted in jiu-jitsu. Wow. Not a lot of people know, but I had, maybe 50 tournaments, and I competed against a bunch of really good guys. And I do well. I'm great at not getting submitted. I'm good positionally. And I know the point system. And so it's like taking guys down. I can grapple with good guys. I don't have any, I'm not afraid of that. So taking guys down and putting them in a bad spot or putting them on their back and making them squirm and move and give up submissions. And so ideally, I wouldn't mind either, and some of the finishes that I got from them trying to get up, or I had hurt them, taken them down, and then got the submission. And so, the Brad Tavares fight, I caught him with a hook and I ended up taking him down, and he spun his belly, and I caught him in a rear naked. So I've been drilling, taking the back when they try to get up, arm triangles, just top position stuff, being heavy and keeping the pressure on them, not just in the cage, but when I take them down on the ground. So I've been incorporating that a lot in my training, especially these last number of months.
So the last thing I want to ask you before we get out of here, you said that because you've been deadlifting more, your weight's a little bit higher, but you've got it back under control because you're a nutritionist. What is your weight like right now?
So let's see. Saturday, I woke up I think it was 17 pounds over, 16 or 17 pounds over. So I was 187 pounds, and I'm usually like 182, 183, about 2 weeks out. So about 5 pounds heavier than normal. But also too, man, I notice I feel a lot better, and they've had me eat more carbohydrates, and I feel better in practices. So I've been able to push harder, and I'm not so damn focused on
weight cutting.
Got to eat this little tiny little, and man, you're not recovering, and I wasn't sleeping good.
Yeah.
Now I am a little bit heavier, but she was like, okay, do this, this, and this, and then check your weight, and it was like, man, I was significantly lighter, on a little trial on Tuesday of last week. So she said, okay, so you're fine. And then, but I feel better.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Okay. That's great, man. It sounds good. It sounds like you got a good game plan put together as far as the total training camp system. Not game plan as far as the fight goes, obviously, but
yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how this fight goes. Like I said, on paper, it's very evenly matched. It's a very, very good fight. You guys could nullify yourselves in a lot of different places, and it could become boring. Or one of you could get a 3 or 4% better that night in one position, and then all of a sudden it's an explosive fight, and it could be 3 rounds of absolute chaos, and it'd be amazing to watch on TV. It's going to be incredible to watch.
It's set, man. It's great matchup on paper.
Yeah.
Not to mention he's a tough dude and he's well rounded. I'm a tough dude. I'm well rounded. It should be a really good fight.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a lot of fun to watch at home for sure.
Hell yeah.
So,
right.
All right, Kurt. Take care, man. Have a blessed day. I'm so glad you came on here. And good luck on the fight. We can't wait to talk to you again after.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Hey, talk to you later.
Take care.